All right, let's get right into it. If you're looking at studying in Australia or you're already here, there's one question that's probably on your mind. How long can I really stay after my course is done? Well, the answer isn't as simple as you think, and today we're going to break down exactly how it works, using the official government rules.
So, quick question for you. Do you think your student visa just stops the day you walk out of your last exam? It's a super common assumption, and honestly, it's a trap a lot of students fall into.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't. Your visa's end date isn't just about when your classes finish. There's another really crucial factor that determines everything, a detail that so many people completely overlook, and it can really catch you out.
And that brings us to what I like to call the OSHC Golden Rule. Seriously, understanding this one thing is the absolute key to planning your entire stay in Australia the right way, right from the very start.
So what is OSHC? It stands for Overseas Student Health Cover. And let me be clear, this is not optional. It's mandatory health insurance for every single international student. You have to be covered for your whole course. But here's the kicker. It's also the thing that decides how much extra time you get to stay in the country. So think of it like this. It's a simple chain reaction. First, you have your course dates. That tells you the minimum OSHC you need. But then, the actual end date of the OSC policy you buy is what the Department of Home Affairs uses to set the final expiry date on your visa. It's a direct link. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from the Department of Home Affairs. They literally tell you to think about this when you're buying your health cover, because once that visa is granted, that date is locked in. It's final. You can't just call up and ask for an extension. This is a one-shot deal.
All right, so with that in mind, how do they actually figure out the length? Let's jump into the standard rules that apply to most students, and you'll see how this all comes together.
Okay, let's break this table down, because it's super important. The extra time you get really depends on two things: how long your course is and what time of year it finishes. So, scenario 1, if your course is 10 months or longer and wraps up at the end of the year, November or December, your visa will usually go until March 15th of the next year. Now, if that same course finishes earlier, say between January and October, you get an extra 2 months added on. And for any shorter courses, less than 10 months, you just get 1 extra month. And in every single one of these cases, your OSHC has to cover that full period.
But of course, not everyone fits into that neat little box, right? The department has some special cases, particularly for postgraduate research students and for school-age kids. So let's take a look at those.
First up, for all you postgraduate research students out there, the news is pretty good. You actually get an extra 6 months added to your visa, and there's a really logical reason for this. The government knows that thesis marking isn't always quick. It can be a back-and-forth process, and that extra time is built in to allow for it.
Now, for younger students, the rules are totally different again. For kids in primary school, the visa is usually capped at 3 years. This is really a protective measure for very young children. But once they get to high school, that can be extended, which allows families to plan for a much longer period of study.
So that begs the question, what's the absolute longest you can get on a single student visa?
Generally speaking, the max you're going to see is 6 years. This is most common for high school students who are planning to complete all their senior years here, or for students who have packaged their courses, as long as it's a logical path, like going from a diploma to a bachelor's to a master's degree. Okay, I know that was a lot of rules and dates, so how do we take all of that and turn it into something you can actually use? Let's boil it all down to a simple action plan. Here is your game plan, step by step. First, confirm your official course start and end dates. Don't guess. Next, use the rules we just went over to figure out the extra stay you're eligible for. Then, and this is the most important part, buy your OSH to cover that entire period, right up to the very last day. And always, always remember, once that visa is granted, the date is set. Doing this properly from the start lets you plan everything that comes next.
Look, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. Buying your OSHC isn't just another form to fill out. The date you choose for your health cover to end is the moment you are deciding when your visa will expire. That choice gets set in stone. Plan it wisely.
So now you know how it all works. You have the knowledge to map out your time in Australia with total confidence. The only question left is, with that time clearly laid out in front of you, what are you going to achieve with it?